Welcome to another dojo topic. Hey, have you ever felt like you wish you could find reasons to be happy, but it doesn't seem like there's enough reason to be happy? Like you look around and you think, "Oh man, the world is just falling apart." If so, that might be why you attracted today's video. Welcome to the dojo. We meet live every Tuesday, and I'm going to share my screen with you right now so we can talk about this topic. We meet live, as I said, every Tuesday. You're welcome to join us live so that you can actually get in on the conversations that we have about different topics every week. And if you can't join us live, I'm really excited and happy for you that you attracted this video. Last week, our topic was on the demiurge exposed. Who's really in control? The whole oh my gosh, is it a greater power, or am I in charge, or is it fate? So if you weren't able to join us live or you have not yet seen the video, I will put a link to that video at the end of this video. But today we're talking about living happy. Happiness in a world that looks like it's fallen apart. Now, you may remember something that I mentioned last week, a statement from last week's topic. And what I said was everything appears to be intensifying, chaos and awakening simultaneously. More fear, more clarity, more polarization, more realization. Duality crescendos while unity consciousness becomes more accessible. And both movements are appearing in the same field. What does that mean? Well, just think of it as on those days when life seems to be overwhelming, or you're receiving those invitations to have an unhappy life. There is the opposite of that, right? Everything has its equal. Everything has contrast. Good, bad, up, down, black, white, happy, sad. Everything has contrast. And we've been talking about the Matrix, not the Hollywood version, but the metaphysical one, the dualistic realm, the field of contrast, the realm where separation appears real. This is where living happy in a world that looks like it's falling apart is about recognizing that the matrix is not a prison. It's an invitation system. Along my spiritual path, it took me a while to recognize something really profound. The strongest emotional identity my mother gave me was unhappiness. One of her most spoken phrases was, "First comes laughing, then comes crying." As a child, I didn't know she was teaching us the art of unhappiness. She believed she was protecting us, making us tough, preparing us so we wouldn't be disappointed when happy times didn't last. But she was actually modeling what it felt like to live hurt. This is how subtle the dualistic mind is. It convinces us we are doing the right thing for the right reasons while keeping us anchored in intensity and contrast. And when unhappiness appears, it finds someone to blame: parents, teachers, politics, media, memories, and the cycle continues until awareness steps in, because intensity is the invitation to remember what you are. So let's recognize what the invitations are and how they appear. And this was a really perfect picture for me for this slide because it reminded me of a time my daughter was young, maybe elementary school, and she and I were driving in the car, and we were probably on the freeway, and somebody cut me off or something. Anyway, I started swearing and cussing and yelling at the man, and when I finally calmed down and got quiet, my daughter said to me, "Mom, you do know I'm the only one that can hear you, right?" And it was such a wake-up call for me because I thought, "Oh my gosh, yeah. Those expletives that I'd just been screaming and shouting out, they weren't landing on the person I was upset with. They were landing on my daughter. the child that I love, the child that I just want happiness to be her life. And yet I was creating an unhappiness. So let's recognize what those invitations are, because invitations don't show up with a label. They appear as contractions in the body, a defensive thought, a story about why this shouldn't be happening. Have you ever said that? Why is this happening to me? A surge of blame, a feeling of lack, a need to control. An invitation to the matrix feels urgent, personal, heavy, justified. It says, this is about you. This must be fixed. You are not safe. You are not enough. And if you accept it, you step into the realm of contrast. But who you are actually the infinite, attributeless field of awareness in which all forms are appearing. Thoughts, emotions, experience, and people are all forms appearing as invitation. These invitations arise like waves on the ocean. The ocean doesn't resist the wave. It doesn't identify as the wave. It doesn't drown the wave. It allows. You have the ability to accept or decline all invitations equally without fearing the matrix, without making one wave better than another, without turning contrast into identity. This is living happy. Living happy does not mean there are no forms arising. It means you know you are the ocean. You are the infinite, attributeless ocean where all forms arise. It means when contraction appears, you recognize it as an invitation, not a command. It means when the world looks like it's fallen apart, more chaos, more polarization, more fear, there's also more clarity. You see both movements happening in the same field. And just to give you an example of this, the other day I had something that needed to be completed that day. And I knew when I woke up that morning, I'm like, okay, I have to do this one thing, probably take me like 15 minutes max. But I also knew that I had all day to get it done. And so I just went on my merry way, doing my thing and loving life, enjoying my day. Everything was perfect. But then around noon, I started to notice an invitation of nervousness throughout the body. And with every hour that passed, the contraction got stronger. So about 5 o'clock, I decided, you know what? I'm just going to complete this one task and then give myself a break because there's no sense in trying to put a label on what this contraction was about because I knew it was just a form arising and I could either accept it, meaning it was an invitation to say, okay, think of all these reasons why, you're having these intense emotions or contractions in the body, or let it arise and dissipate. So I decided to just do my 15-minute task and turn my computer off and chill out in front of a movie. And that's exactly what I did. But the interesting thing is, once I completed the task, the contraction immediately got less intense. And as I thought about it, I had a good chuckle, realizing that awareness was reminding me to complete the one task that needed to be done that day. It was so funny to me because it was such a blatant reminder that if there's something we need, awareness will make sure we have it. And as Shakespeare said, there's nothing neither good or bad, but thinking makes it so. If I had allowed myself to make up a story about the contraction, I would have completely derailed myself that day and increased speed on that emotional roller coaster. Both movements were happening in the same field. duality crescendoing, unity becoming more accessible. Same field, two invitations. One pulls you into identification, one reminds you that you are the awareness in which the invitations arise. Intensity is the invitation to remember what you are, not who your parents conditioned you to be, not the emotional identity you inherited, not the protective armor you mistook for strength, but the infinite field in which it all appears. If being grumpy, ashamed, unworthy, lackful, or unhealthy is what you prefer, you will be given everything you need, everything necessary to reinforce that identity, not as punishment, as permission. But once you recognize the invitations you most often accept, you are free, free to live happy, not because the world is calm, but because you are no longer stepping into the storm as your identity. You are the space in which the storm appears. And from there, you can love your life. Now, I'd like to invite you to close your eyes, take a deep breath, let it out, and notice right now, are you contracted or open? Meaning, are you tense or are you relaxed? Without trying to resist or fix anything, just notice. You're not being graded, you're observing. This immediately shifts you from performance to awareness. Now, at the beginning of this topic, I gave you two examples of contrast, the story about my mother and the experience I had the other day. So let's recognizing what the invitations are now, right now, while you're doing this exercise and how they appear. Because invitations can appear like contraction, tenseness in the body, blame, hopelessness, urgency, justification, the need to control something or someone or some experience. But you are the infinite, attributeless field of awareness in which all forms are appearing, like waves on the ocean or a blank screen. You can accept or decline every invitation equally. Now, with your eyes still closed, think of one of your own recent moments of contraction. What was the invitation? What story justified it? What identity was being protected? If you were the ocean or the blank screen instead of the wave or the story going on the screen, what changes? Now, if you're having difficulty coming up with a moment of contrast, here are some examples for you. Believing yourself to be unfulfilled, seeking ways to be more enlightened, an unexpected bill, your weight, a challenging relationship, pain in the body, an unhappy child, a sick pet. Remember that story of the drowning man? Now listen up, because you might think you know where I'm going with this, but you don't. So the story of the drowning man goes like this. A devout man is trapped on his roof during a severe flood and prays to God to save him. A neighbor in a rowboat passes by, offering to take him to safety, but the man refuses, saying, "No, I'm praying to God and he will save me with a miracle." Later, a motorboat from a rescue team passes by, offering help, but the man again refuses, relying on his faith. Finally, a helicopter arrives, lowering a rope, but the man still refuses, waiting for a direct miracle. The man drowns and arrives in heaven, where he asks God why he didn't save him. And God replies, "I sent you a rowboat, I sent you a motorboat, and a helicopter. What more were you looking for?" And the same could be said for duality, those invitations we think are unwanted that we don't want. Because the only answer could be, hey, I sent you fear, shame, guilt, and unhappiness. What else is it going to take for you to recognize the way out? Now open your eyes. What did you notice about your invitations? How fast do they appear? Were you able to see how convincing they are? Once you recognize the invitation, did it become lighter? Can you see how stepping into duality, the matrix, a constricted, tense, emotional situation is never wrong? Duality is contrast. Contrast creates awareness. Without contrast, you could not recognize yourself as the infinite, attributeless field of awareness. So the next time you realize you've stepped into the matrix or the dualistic realm, you can simply respond with, good, there is awareness of stepping into the dualistic realm. Remember not to make it personal by using the words I, me, my, or mine. Where we identify with it or make it personal, we say, I am feeling sad. I am not happy. I am unhappy. My body hurts. When we are personalizing it, we are attracting that vibrational frequency. That's awareness. Duality is not failure. It's part of the design of experience. The only suffering comes from believing you're trapped there. Intensity is the invitation to remember what you are. You can remain impersonal with any invitation by saying, there is impersonal, effortless awareness for an invitation to. When you notice duality, it's never a wrong experience. It is awareness expanding. Living happy is not avoiding contrast. It's recognizing your freedom within it. Thank you for choosing this topic. I'm so happy that you decided that you wanted to be a part of this. And remember, you have the option to join us live at the dojo if you like. I also put some reflection questions here. I'm not going to read them to you, but if you'd like to take this a little bit farther, pause the video, go over them, see what comes up for you. See if you're able to maintain neutrality rather than identifying with them. And in the meantime, can you see that you have all the power? Whenever something is coming up that you are labeling or identifying with as unhappy, unhappiness in the life, you have the power. Everything is, there's duality in everything, everything. If you'd like any kind of support with this, visit me at masteringyourbeliefs.com. In the meantime, this is Nancy Muller, the one and only Life Sensei, saying ciao for now.